everyone, my name is Shelby Hartman. I'm DoubleBlind's co-founder and editor-in-chief, and today we're going to talk about what to eat and not eat on shrooms. So the first thing I'm going to say about eating on shrooms is that, like everything else with shrooms, it's completely person-dependent, and you have to figure out what works best for you. We talk about this a lot in DoubleBlind articles and workshops and other videos on this channel, but taking a psychedelic is a big decision. And at DoubleBlind, we like to say that we're not anti-fun, we're not anti-doing shrooms with your friends or at a festival. It's important to us that you approach these medicines, though, or these substances with a degree of reverence, with the understanding that even if you're just like looking to take a microdose or looking to have a good time, that they may open things up for you that you weren't anticipating. And the more you prepare, the more that you will get out of the experience, and the better the experience will be, even if you're just taking them to have a good time. One of the most common side effects of being on shrooms, and you might have experienced this yourself before, is nausea, specifically on the come up. And for most people, the nausea passes. Shrooms take around 10 to 60, sometimes 90 minutes to really kick in. And people can feel sort of like a stomach churning on the come up. And then as they head into that peak of the journey, oftentimes the nausea alleviates, but not for everybody. Sometimes the nausea comes in waves. Sometimes it persists throughout the entire experience. And it can be really uncomfortable. It can be so distracting that you're sort of unable to appreciate the other aspects of the shroom experience, like the visuals, like whatever it might be bringing up for you emotionally, like just hanging out with your friends, if that's your intention. And what you eat before and during the shroom experience can really impact the degree to which they upset your stomach. So we're gonna talk about what you eat while you're on shrooms and how you take the shrooms themselves. But before we do that, because it's really important, I wanna talk about what you're gonna be putting into your body before you take shrooms. If you've ever explored taking ayahuasca, or you've taken ayahuasca, regardless of the tradition that you've sat in, the facilitator that has been leading the ceremony, you're gonna receive, usually, a series of documents that are helping you prepare. And a big part of that is going to be what's called the dieta, or the diet. And generally speaking, the diet is going to recommend that you refrain from a few things. Basically anything that's very unhealthy. So too much caffeine, especially coffee, alcohol, any drugs, including cannabis and other psychedelics, even microdoses, pork, sometimes beef as well, salt. I mean, really, basically just toxins and junk food. And to me, it's always been very interesting that we don't have similar language or a similar sort of expectation for engaging with other psychedelic medicines. I mean, look, there's not ample, rigorous clinical data showing that if you eat bacon before a shroom trip or you eat vegetables before a shroom trip, that the outcomes are significantly different. But just think for a moment about your body as a vessel. Think about how you feel when you've been sleeping well and hydrating and drinking tea and eating good food versus when you're not. And then think about the fact that oftentimes what psychedelics do, classic psychedelics like DMT, like shrooms, like ayahuasca, like LSD, amplify what's already happening within you. So if you're concerned about having digestive issues on shrooms, you're concerned about feeling nauseous, then you just want to do everything you can in the days leading up to the experience to take care of yourself and to take care of your body, to limit the chances that anything you're already feeling within, any kind of discomfort from like the burger you ate, gets amplified by the psychedelic. Basically what I'm trying to say is what you eat before you trip matters, so be good to yourself and be good to your body. And one more thing that I'm going to note about what you eat before your shroom trip. which is that there are a lot of people who are experienced trippers, psychonauts, who opt to fast before a shroom trip. In the 24 hours before, 48 hours before, whatever it might be. This is not something that we would recommend you doing if you don't have experience on shrooms and also have experience with fasting. But if you do have experience with both of those things, it could be worth exploring. Just note that, you know, the emptier your stomach is, the stronger the shroom experience will likely be. So fasting is going to amplify the potency of the shroom experience, whereas eating a really big breakfast before your shrooms is going to diminish the potency. Hi, my name is Shelby Hartman. I'm DoubleBlind's co-founder and editor-in-chief. And for those of you who don't know, DoubleBlind began as a print magazine 5 years ago that I had the idea for when I was meditating. It hasn't been easy. We've been up against a lot, from censorship to all the challenges of running a media startup in the 21st century. We vowed to never have a paywall over our articles and to always offer scholarships for our educational offerings so people are not locked out from the information that they need to heal. This has all been made possible by the support of our members. Our membership comes with journeys to help people prepare for and process their psychedelic experiences, and we've teamed up with our favorite people in the psychedelic space to offer breathwork, cannabis ceremonies, integration circles, and more. Plus, the membership comes with a free subscription to our print magazine, which comes out twice a year. So if you feel called, I invite you to join us. You probably figured this out already from what we've already discussed, but eat light, be good to yourself, eat healthy. If you can bear it, I would suggest not drinking caffeine the morning of your shroom trip because, again, it's going to, the shrooms are going to amplify whatever's already within you. So if caffeine is, gives you anxiety, even on a subtle level, makes you irritable, whatever it might be, then, the shrooms might amplify that experience. That being said, if you're someone that every morning you drink your cup of coffee, and if you don't drink your cup of coffee, you're gonna be a curmudgeon and you're gonna have a headache, then perhaps try green tea. You could try weaning off of coffee in the week leading up to your experience, or try a half a cup of coffee instead of a full cup. Or there's a caffeinated holly called guayusa that a lot of people like to drink leading up to an ayahuasca experience. Again, this is all very person dependent, so you just have to listen to yourself. If you feel like drinking your morning cup of coffee is gonna be the best thing for you before your shroom trip because otherwise you're gonna feel terrible, then go for it. I'm not gonna tell you not to, but again, just be mindful of what you're putting into your body, especially the morning before you have a shroom experience. Likewise with food, think about foods that your body really loves and that aren't too heavy. So in addition to eating light, something you could really think about ahead of your shroom trip, especially if you've experienced nausea in the past or you're worried about experiencing nausea, is the things that just really help soothe your stomach, that your body really loves. So in my case, and for a lot of people, that's herbal tea. And, there's this shop that's near me, it's an apothecary, and they have these big giant jars of chamomile and lavender and rose and peppermint and lemon balm. And there are so many herbs, and even just hot water is really good for your digestive system. I like to make a giant mason jar with just whatever herbs I'm feeling called to that I know are gonna help my digestive system, and sip on it in the 24 hours or 48 hours before my shroom trip, in the morning before my shroom trip, and all throughout the trip. And it's just soothing, it's delicious, it makes me feel like I'm caring for myself. So if there's anything like that your body loves, then it's a nice ritual to take the time to prepare that for yourself. Now let's talk about actually taking the shrooms. So there are a lot of different ways to take shrooms, from a tincture to capsules to chocolates to beverages, and DoubleBlind actually has a course on cooking with shrooms that's taught by leading mycologists and psilocybin chefs Dr. Kay Mandrake and Virginia Hayes. You can buy it on our website, doubleblindmag.com, shameless plug, and all the proceeds go back to funding videos like this and our journalism. But I'm gonna go over some of the basics now. At the risk of stating the obvious, the easiest way to take shrooms is just to eat them. And when I say eat them, I'm talking about whole dried psilocybin mushrooms. Some people do take fresh psilocybin mushrooms. That's usually going to be about 10 times more than dried psilocybin mushrooms because of the water content of the fresh mushrooms. And usually you're going to find those by foraging. We also have foraging content. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, usually if you're either growing shrooms and then just drying them in a dehydrator, or you're buying them from some random person, you're going to be getting whole dried psilocybin mushrooms. And there are literally more than 180 different types of psilocybin containing mushrooms. So they're going to be all different types of shapes and sizes and colors. But one thing that they have in common is that none of them taste good. A lot of people describe the taste of shrooms, if you've never had them before, like dirty socks. And one of the challenges of eating them raw is that, as mentioned earlier in this video, one of the most common side effects of shrooms on the come up, and sometimes on and off throughout the journey, is nausea. And if you start your trip by eating a large quantity of something that just tastes bad, it can kind of trigger the beginning of nausea. So actually finding other ways to consume the shrooms, whether it's in tincture form, capsules, chocolates, etc., can help you stave off nausea on the come up. So if you ever took shrooms in college, then you may have just put shrooms into any kind of food that you just had or ordered. Like people stick them in a PB&J sandwich, or they stick them on a pizza, or they throw them in with pasta. And yeah, you can do that. And yeah, it's gonna mask the taste. But as mentioned before, you really want to be conscientious of what you're putting in your body before and during a shroom trip if you're concerned about your stomach feeling heavy or nauseous or whatever it might be. So yes, you can just order like pizza on Uber Eats and throw your shrooms on them and eat the pizza, but I don't necessarily recommend that as the first option for avoiding the icky taste of the shrooms. One of our favorite ways to consume shrooms at DoubleBlind is shroom tea. And we have a video on this YouTube channel about how to make shroom tea. It's super easy. You just grind up shrooms in a coffee grinder and soak them in hot water basically for 15-ish minutes. And it really helps with the digestion of shrooms and staving off nausea. It's also just sort of a beautiful ritualistic thing to do. Something else that's sort of similar to tea, but that people don't talk about as much, is soup. And you can actually grind up your mushrooms and put them in any kind of soup. Your ramen, your miso soup. It's a really easy and beautiful way to consume shrooms. Smoothies are also super easy. Just throw your shrooms in the blender, so that's always a great option. And if you want to do capsules or tinctures, that takes a little bit more care. So again, we get into, we have demonstrations on how to make capsules and how to make tinctures in our Cooking with Shrooms course and also in our microdosing course. But I'll just say, generally speaking, that capsules are great for microdosing, also can be great for macrodosing, typically more common for microdosing, just because, it's just sort of the ease of you can take it alongside your supplement in the morning. And tincture is one of the more complicated methods to make, and it's not something that you're likely going to be able to just buy easily in the underground market, although there's more and more people that are selling tinctures and gummies and more sort of elaborate shroom products. Tinctures are a little bit harder to find, but it's amazing if you can find it or if you can make it, because it's super easy to dose your food with a tincture. So that pretty much covers it for how to take your shrooms. There's other things that you can explore, like lemon teching, for example, which is grinding up your mushrooms and putting them in with some kind of citric acid, which is probably going to increase the potency of the experience and shorten its duration. We also have a video about that on this YouTube channel, and we have an article about it on our website. But, generally speaking, that sort of covers the ways that you can take your shrooms and how to combine them with food. Now let's talk about what to eat when you're on shrooms. And the answer is not much. Again, this is completely person dependent. So just like with coffee, if you know that you don't drink your coffee in the morning, you're gonna be a curmudgeon and you're gonna have headaches, then drink coffee. And if you're in the middle of a shroom trip and you are just so hungry, or you have the munchies that you can't focus on the trip itself and you just wanna eat something, yeah, go ahead and eat something. But just like we say with our dosing, start low and go slow, start slow with eating. And, I really love to munch on fruit. And I think that, in the same way that you're going to prepare your environment, it's really great to prepare some healthy snacks ahead of time, some sort of, some crackers that are healthy and hummus, or something that's just easy that you can grab that isn't going to upset your stomach. Take a couple bites and see how it makes you feel. If you get hungry during the shroom trip, then I would recommend, again, eating something that is light and healthy and also just easy to grab. So hopefully when preparing for your shroom trip, just in the same way that you might have made a playlist of your favorite songs and made sure that your Bluetooth speaker was charged, you went to the grocery store or the farmer's market or whatever it might be, and you put some food together that is just, easy and that is gonna make you feel good. So that you're not like opening your fridge mid-trip, tripping balls, like looking at that Chinese food from last night and going like, oh, I don't know, should I eat this? I can tell you from experience, food can taste really kind of icky and weird and almost be trippy when you're on shrooms. So, eating stuff that, is fresh and light and that just always makes your body feel good is a good way to go. And I really love to do fresh cut up fruit. I love to do, like they have pre-made things of soup at the store, chicken noodle soup, stuff like that. Be mindful of the fact that eating during a shroom trip is going to, again, decrease the potency of the trip itself. I hate to tell you this, but if you're tripping balls, eating a slice of pizza isn't going to change that. But it will ground you and it will reduce the potency of the experience. So if you're really enjoying riding the waves of the shroom trip and you're only like 2 or 3 hours in, unless you like actively feel like you want to eat something, like you're like, I'm hungry, I'm uncomfortable, I want to eat something, I think it's good to wait 4 or 5 hours, sort of once you get to that point where the trip is naturally reaching its conclusion, and then you can sit down and eat something nourishing and sort of ritualistically pat yourself on the back and say like, yeah, I did it. The last thing I want to say about food and shrooms is that in the weeks following your psychedelic experience, that it's a really potent time for what we refer to in the psychedelic community as integration. And this essentially is the process of integrating the realizations that you had under the influence of the psychedelic into your life. New ways of feeling, new ways of thinking, new ways of being, new ways of relating to yourself and other people, and that includes what you eat. What we eat is so fundamental to how we feel in our own bodies. And so consider, do you want to drink alcohol right away? Do you want to go straight back to caffeine? Again, no judgment, completely person dependent, but especially in like the week or so following your psychedelic experience, you might find that it's highly beneficial to put extra care into what you eat and what you drink. So if you want more information like this and you want to support our work at DoubleBlind, you can check us out at doubleblindmag.com or subscribe to this YouTube channel.